There's another one here, and I'm going to throw in a bit of a spanner in the works before you address this one. And we note the hands, guys. We're definitely going to come to you. We just have this new Facebook family that we need to make sure that they're feeling at home as much as possible. The time right now is 3 minutes to 4. So we still have a little bit of some time. If we can push maybe up until 4:30 or 25 to, so that we make sure everyone is answered and all comments are made. Here's a question from Fortune Tamsanga Ndlongwa. It's on Facebook. Happy Sabbath, friends. My question is based on correcting wrong initial financial decisions. Is there a way that a car can be returned? Is there a way that a house can be returned? Is there a way that the sofas that I took on credit can be returned? It's gone as far, Olani, as getting furniture on credit. People are buying food on credit. Can food be returned on credit? Now, Olani, I know that the National Credit Act allows for the process of debt review. And debt review is when you are deep into debt and you can no longer meet your obligations as when they become due and payable. And this process involves you setting up a meeting with a debt counselor. There's an involvement of legal practitioners. A formal application is made to court, and then your finances are then restructured so that if you were maybe supposed to pay 20,000 rand back to Absa Bank over a period of 4 years, they then cut it down to 5,000 rand over a period of 8 years so that it becomes more manageable to you. It comes with consequences though, because sometimes the interest structure as well is going to affect you. It might keep you into the debt for a longer period, and it's going to prevent you from entering into any new credit agreements up until a point where you are rehabilitated and you are able to get back into the debt market. Now, Polani, I've often thought about this. So, and that's saying that there's definitely a way of giving it back. Banks also make room for you to just phone them and say, hey guys, I'm having a difficult time. Could you please hear me out? Banks are more, they're quite lenient in that regard. But such processes like debt review, some people end up being in debt for the rest of their life because you had this agreement that you're supposed to pay off in a certain amount in 5 years. Then the amount is lessened and the payment period is then lengthened to the rest of your life. How do you deal with those things? Because yes, you are able to. Is it advisable? What's the best way to navigate where you're already in it? You've made the wrong financial decisions and now you want to get out of it. Let us help out Tamsanga there.
Okay. So let me start with giving back your asset. Then I'll get into the debt reviews and all these other things. I've returned a car before, and it can be done and it should be done, right? But remember when I started, I said that our money problems are mostly not just problems with money. There are also problems with our thinking and our emotions. There's a problem with the way we think. We tend to value a lot what we already own. That's why it's so difficult to send back the furniture that you know very well you don't afford, to send back the car that you don't know very well you don't afford. I've listened to people coming up with a lot of excuses, say, no, but the resale price is less than this and that and that and that. Yet it can get them out of debt. So it can be done. It should be done that you send things back. We did it at home where we sent back a car that we realized that it's actually affecting our future goals. But to be able to do that, you have to have a bigger, compelling goal in life than just owning and keeping the furniture that you have. So there must be a goal that is so important to you. It can be a goal of actually being financially free. It can be a goal of saying, I actually want to send my kids to a good school and I think this debt is wasting my time. So you can give back those things, and I suggest you actually give back those things. But just remember that our financial decisions are very irrational. We actually feel the pain of losing two times more than we feel the joy of gaining. So even the things that we own, we take longer to let go of them, even when they make sense. So just be aware that your brain is also going to play tricks with you. But really, you must do that. So if you come back to all these ideas of debt review, debt consolidation, I know you've mixed them with quite a lot of things. I always say that as far as possible, try and do most of these things yourself, right? Try and snowball your debt yourself and only go to reviewers and consolidators and all those things only when you have failed you've cut everything that can be cut, and there's nothing else you can cut, because doing it yourself costs you no money. There's no, the debt canceling also has some money, some fees that you must pay, but doing it yourself, which is really taking your expenses and your spending and saying, what are non-essentials? What are non-essentials? And you can go through that another time. But do it yourself. And only when you've done it yourself can you then go back and start using these other things. And as Joy Malete is saying right now on the comment, when you are getting rid of your debt yourself, and this is snowballing, where you say, I'm releasing some funds. So let's say I'm left with 100 rands at the end of each month. I take that 100 rands and increase the repayments of the debt that has the highest interest rate and do it myself. When you've done it yourself and you say, I've done everything, I'm stuck. I've cut all the non-essentials, but I'm stuck. Only then should you then go and go in and look at debt canceling and things like that. Now the one that you are talking about of you are now finding yourself paying less installments, but you are staying in debt for longer. This is what they call debt consolidation. As the word says, you are taking all your small debt and you consolidate them in one big debt that is giving you lower repayments. So let's say you had a clothing account that was charging you 800 rands a month. Let's say it was left with 12 months, but you can't afford it. You've got a furniture account that's charging you 2,000 rands. You've got a car installment that's charging you 3,000 rands. Debt consolidation, what it does is you go to the consolidator and say, I want you to take all my debt and go and repay the clothing company, go and repay the car company. You pay them, and then I owe you just one big debt. They do that. They consolidate it. They go and settle the other lenders. And remember, when they go and settle them, they don't, let's say you were owing 5,000 rands in one of the debt. When they go there, remember, they are in a business. And remember, there's one thing that we must understand. If you now think of it from the perspective of the company that you are owing, the company that you are owing is always nervous about your ability to pay back. And they show this nervousness in their books. So they actually go into their books and say, Yasu Kolani is a slow payer and has been skipping some of his debt. They then go into their books and say, we suspect he is doubtful. They raise a provision for doubtful debt. They say, Kolani owes 5,000 rands, but we're going to raise a provision of 1,000 rands just in case he only affords to pay 4,000 rands. So they go and raise the provision and put it there, right? When they've raised that provision, now you go and do consolidation. The consolidator goes to them and says, hey man, I've got these three guys, this guy who owes you 5,000 rands. Tell you what, I'll give you 4,500 and then it's a final settlement. This man has just made 500 rands out of consolidating this thing. And then he goes and borrows you 5,000 rands, but now it's for 5 years. You were left with 12 months, but it's now for 5 years, but the installments are less. So when you are looking at the installments, but the interest rate is even higher, and you now, the debt that you should have repaid over 12 months, you're now paying it over 5 years. The installment looks small, but if you add it all up, you find that you are paying twice than you would have paid. So I'm saying to you that debt consolidation and all these funny things should be your last resort. When you've done everything, including going yourself to the clothing company and saying, listen, guys, I can afford 500 rands per month instead of 800 rands per month. Can we restructure that debt? If you really can't afford, when you've cut all your expenses and you can't afford the 800 rands, it's much better than paying someone a fee to go and consolidate for you and being in debt for longer than you should have been if you just fast tracked or just stuck to your original thing. But also these debt consolidation also come with a fee. So as part of the installments, they also take a fee. Remember, this is not Mother Teresa, this is not ADRA, this is not Docas, this is not the Red Cross. They're running a business. So just remember that. So yeah, all I'm saying is that, but those things, don't hear me wrong. When you've run out of ideas, when you've run out of options, please use those options because they are there to assist you so that you don't find yourself being sequestrated and where you are blacklisted for a very long time. but use them as last resource. Last resort. I really, guys, say that you rather do it yourself than go and consolidate. You can consolidate yourself also. You could go and take your car debt and all these other expensive debt that are charging you interest that is high. Go, and if you've got equity in your bond, let's say your bond is owing 400,000, but your house is worth 800,000. You've got debts they've got a high interest. You take those debts and go to the bank and say, I want to borrow against my bond. They borrow you that. Remember, it's cheaper. This is self-consolidation. Do you see what I'm saying? So some of these things you can do yourself, but I'm warning against it. Don't do that so that you can go and live a life of luxury. Do it because you are managing your debt and trying to get rid of it in the cheapest possible way. Don't do it so that you can finance a lifestyle and consumption. But I'm just saying, all these other going for help and things like that, do it as a last resort. Start doing it yourself. I really encourage that you do it yourself. Cut out the non-essentials. Also, it's lunchtime.
Powerful, man. No, thanks, Kolani. Sorry, I know, guys, I just had to eat a little, Lana. It's so much energy going off, Lana. Thank you so much. It's not Docus or the Red Cross. Let's entertain the hands within. Facebook will get back to you guys. We've noted the questions that are coming through, but there's so many people who've had their hands up for a while now here on our platform, and we need to give them an opportunity. Senzo.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, I wanted to ask. I'm in construction, and sometimes I feel like I'm moving very slow. In terms, I want to create something that I know that is going to be sustainable for a long time, even when I'm dead, when my kids are left on planet Earth. What can you advise? What advice can you give me? I'm in construction, and income is coming in, money is coming, but I want something that I can say, okay, I can put money there and put money there. This can assist in a long term, can bring something, can create wealth, or can provide for my family when I'm gone. Such things like that. I don't know. What can you advise me to do? What can I do?
I think this guy is now asking for private sessions, eh?
He is.
Okay. Let's. Can I take another hand, Kolani, before you attend to?
Please do.
Okay. Can we get the other Kolani? His hand has also been up since we started.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I've got a couple of points quickly. I think let's take a moment to, while we talk about debt and how to acquire money and all that, let's take a moment to, praise the heroes that we have within the platform and even on our Facebook, people that really try for their families. I think basically the average life of a Black person is a tired life. From the time that you're born, you pop out and like, maybe I don't have the best color walking around here. And then you find yourself not probably in the best place as well, where you grow up, and maybe not having as many opportunities as other people would have. But we try. We've tried to live our lives frugal. We've tried to we're staying in places which we don't like, driving cars that we don't like, wearing shoes that we don't like, and buying from places that we don't like. And we try. I think let's take a moment to praise those that are really, honestly, truly trying for their families. I have with me here an example. This is Rita Bread from ShopRite. We try. We would love to buy the milk from Woolworth, but we try with ShopRite things. So let's acknowledge that as young people, as young adults, let's keep doing our best, because some of our biggest blessings, some of our greatest and biggest blessings will come from what we do for our families. Also in mind, let's keep in mind that it's not as easy as it used to be. Back then, we were told that education is key to everything. Maybe that's still right on paper, but practically it's not. Maybe not anymore. It's not the educated guys who make it. It's the guys who are probably in business that are making it. And we find ourselves getting to a point where the average black man black man and black woman tries so hard to attain degrees. We are on a ride to get our masters of masters and then our PhDs of PhDs and all that. Then the monetary value or the monetary gains from all those particular endeavors is not as much as we would have wanted to. And maybe let's acknowledge that education might not honestly and truly always be the key to getting money or to getting sustaining wealth. And then in line with all of that, multiple streams are now unavoidable. Multiple streams of income are now unavoidable. We've now gotten to a point where we've realized what COVID-19 has done to us. Most of us will probably, when we go back to work or when we're at work, our salaries have been cut. And I'm not talking about the guy on the low end side of the job. I'm talking about the guy on the high end side of the job. Salaries have been cut, they've been retrenched, or totally they've lost their jobs. And this is what we're finding ourselves into. Something that happened in 2 months has changed our lives, probably irrevocable. So now we must get to a point where we need to reinvent ourselves. Think more about, okay, this is Ntandazo Xolani Ndlovu. What can I do? What do I have in my hand to get things going? Moses was asked the question, what do you have in your hand? He had a stick, a rod. And that thing made wonders for the children of Israel, opening the Red Sea. And we must interrogate our own talents, our own skills. And also we must learn to acquire. Much as we talk about talent, something that comes natural, skills, maybe that comes natural, we must learn to understand that we need to probably learn how to get other skills ourselves, whether it be technological, whether it be whatever. If we didn't like maths at high school, that time and that luxury of not liking maths is gone. If maths makes money, we need to learn it. Then on the other end as well, we need to, and apart from that, the idea of multiple streams, I'm ending actually, the idea of multiple streams of income comes also with these get-rich-quick systems, crowd one funding. I think most of us have heard that. And we've got members in good and regular standing who are up on our necks here about getting this crowd one funding. My principle has always been, if it's too good to be true, then that's what it is. It's too good to be true. And from there on, maybe working ourselves up with multiple streams of income, like tributaries that feed into a river, it will help. If you can be an MC at a wedding, go ahead, my man. If you can do extra lessons for kids who need English, go ahead. If you can do this, I read an article on online where I was saying that South Africans are now doing online teaching for English, just to make multiple incomes, and it's making a lot of money for some of them. So we can get all those kind of things and not start thinking out of the box, because we're not at the situation that where we should have been. We must learn to work together. One last point, but we learn to work together. Zain talked about partnership, and I want to acknowledge that it's better if we keep money within ourselves. We have so many examples of communities which are moneyed, Jews, Ethiopians. Oh, my friend, they literally, they own every corner, spaza, everywhere. Oh, my friend, community. Here we are a community, and we can do that. If you know what I do, I know what you do. If I know what the other person does, we bring all the money stays within us, it circulates within us. Why do I need to go and buy the type of milk, a ShopRite, or whatever the case could be, where I could go and buy it from you? If I know that you're doing this kind of things, again, it need our businesses to be legit. It will need us to be faithful stewards. And some of us, or some people have had bad experiences with Abazalwane, who have spent their money. So I believe, honestly, if we work together, we'll be good. Then my last question would be this. Is there anything called good debt? Good debt is called to esirai. I mean, I think there's one thing in is called bond. Maybe Koran will help on that. You might not have that 5 million to buy the house that you want, but maybe having that bond will help us through, because either way, we're staying in apartments where we pay 6, 7, 8, 10, 12,000 rands. What if that money was used as a bond to get the house that we want? That was my question. Is there anything called good bond and bond for a house? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Olani, before you address that, can I just consolidate Ntandazo's 2 points with 2 questions that we got on Facebook, which I think they're on the same line, so that when you tackle them, you just deal with them once. The one came from Judy Mapanga. It says, please ask Olani, what does he think about crowdfunding, property stock fells, livestock stock fell, etc. Ntandazo is talking about pulling together. And then Ulungelo Sbanda says that, please help us out on the bond issue. For instance, if I don't pay 9,000 rand towards my bond, but I'm still paying 5,000 rand toward my rent, does it make any commercial sense? What is your view on that?
All right. Are those the only ones you want to read for now, so that I can start? Hello?
Yes, they're the only ones for now. Sorry about that. I muted myself.
Okay. Let me then start with the businessman in construction who is wanting free consultation. So what I'll do instead of free consultation, I'm just going to share the principles of good businesses that can make you money. Just the principle that you must follow. Okay, and these are the same principle that even people who do crowdfunding, even people who pull together money to start property stockpiles or whatever business stockpiles, that I'm suggesting they must follow. Because my worry is that we like to theoretically talk about the Jews, the Muslim, the Chinese who get together and all that stuff, and it sounds so romantic, and then we ignore business principles that make a business succeed over and above the fact that we are now 2000, we are putting money together. The 2000 putting money together towards what? So it will answer then the idea to say, what kind of business ideas? I am not going to do business ideas, but I will talk about the 5 principles that must be in a successful business. And then you can go and find what those successful businesses are. Can I share a screen quickly? Ashley, please.
Okay. All right. Just a second. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Okay, and then I'm gonna do this. Okay, so my suggestion is that start a business or anything that has at least these 5 things, and it will be a business of value, right? And the V being, you must create something that is needed in the market. So in other words, you can't go to vendor and start selling avocados to a guy who already has avocados, you know. So you want to create something that people need. So identify what is needed and then create or supply it or innovate. Otherwise, it's not a business, it's a hobby. So for example, there's a guy who created this waterless bath. And again, yes, we need to bath, but it became too expensive for people who don't have water. Because remember, it's for people who don't have water. But if you look at his pricing, the person down in Lukuzan, in Wamhlabuyalingana without water can't afford this thing. But as soon as there was a water crisis in Cape Town, people needed this thing, and that's why he made so much money. He met a need, right? And remember, the business that you're going to start, anything that's going to create you more money, does not necessarily need to be a new invention, okay? So it could be just innovation. If you really think about it, if you think of like a Mr. Delivery, really Mr. Delivery does not make any food, does not do anything, but he understood that there are customers who don't want to go to the shop, to the restaurant and buy and queue. And he said, I'm going to solve that problem. Innovation, he created that. So identify a gap. For example, iTunes, for example. I mean, if you really think about it, when we grew up, you will go and buy a whole cassette, but you only like 2 songs. And therefore, someone who then says, why should I buy the whole cassette and the whole CD just for 2 songs? So those customers would not buy the CD because they're saying, I can't buy a CD for just 2 songs. So they don't buy. But as soon as somebody saw a gap and say, sometimes people just want 1 song, they invented this thing of iTunes. They innovated around it. So again, the point is, find something that people need. There's a market for it, etc., etc. And that's it. So whatever it is, look for that. Look for that. Innovation is important. And then, of course, the other idea, which is, I'm going to skip all of this. The second thing, remember I said it's value. The second thing is attracting attention. You don't attract attention by making people feel guilty. And this is my concern, that as soon as you run a black business, instead of doing marketing and attracting our attention, you are taking us on a guilt trip. Okay? So can we try that we actually do enough marketing, enough attracting of attention over and above just making people feel guilty? So attract attention. And remember, there are 7 billion people in the world, and they've got many things that are grabbing their attention. I mean, on average, an average person sees about 5,000 adverts every day. We watch Facebook, there's adverts. What is it that must stand out? Something must stand out about what you are offering. So attract attention, and therefore you'll be able to do that. When you know, when the devil wanted to tempt Jesus, It didn't tempt him when he was in the crowd. He had to attract his attention and take him away from the crowd so that he can get his undivided attention. And you need to do that in your business ideas. Yes, you've created something that people need, but people must be aware of it. And that's very important, again, to attract attention. So you must stand out and all those things. There's many things you can do to do that. And then the third thing that's there, value, is lend a sale. When you've attracted attention, then sell to a person. It's like someone who preaches a good sermon and then they don't do an altar call. I mean, you've missed an opportunity to actually call us to action. It's very important that we do that. So again, when you lend a sale, you lend a sale if people can trust you. You also lend a sale by making it possible for people to buy. So for example, if you are selling me something, but for me to get it, I must get out of my way. Forget it. We're not going to lend a sale. That's why it's easy to buy in garages, because they are called convenience store. I just offer them and then I get it. Now you are selling something. For me to get it, I must call you. We must arrange all of those things. It's very hard to land a sale around it. So there's a few things you must do around it. And of course, the fourth thing that must be there is service delivery. Guys, we are not going to generate enough interest in what we have if we don't deliver what we promised. If you said that tasty rice grow 3 times when it's cooked, it better grow 3 times when it's cooked. Deliver what you've promised. Don't create a hype. And these days, what we all know is that word of mouth goes fast on social media. If I've had a bad experience with a particular business, I go on Hello Peter and all of that stuff, it can kill your business. So service delivery is very important. How do you do service delivery? Have people who are competent. If you are not competent in the business you are in, at least have people who are competent. This thing of starting businesses because you saw others starting it, and then you don't do it as well as others, it can really kill your business. And of course, the last thing that's important is that, obviously, let's do a business that makes financial sense. It pains me that so many of us have
Sorry about that, Kolani. Guys, there's someone who needs to mute themselves there. It's Sydney.
And then
I've muted him. Sorry about that.
So the last thing again is that, I mean, I know that we all see so many people who've got business cards that are, say, founder, CEO. You go on Facebook, everyone is a founder, everybody is a CEO. It is important that we also focus on the money side of the business, the finance side of the business. You know, pay your SARS. Make sure that the business makes enough money. Keep reserves. Don't eat all your money. You know, pay yourself a salary if you need to touch on money, but make sure that the business has enough money to sustain it, to give it growth, all of this stuff. So those are the 5 things. I know I'm running through it, and I'm saying the 5 things that really can make you make a business work. Find something that people need and provide it in the best way possible. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you invent a new thing. You've seen things like Mr. Delivery and things like that. You actually, innovation can do something. Doing the same thing that people are doing, but doing it in a better way can be innovation. Find something that people need, therefore you have a business. Otherwise, it's a hobby. If you do something we don't need, it's a hobby. Number 2, attract attention rightfully. Do some marketing, do proper marketing. Let's stop appealing to people's guilt. Because when you say support me because I'm black, support me because we're from the same church, you actually sometimes get the opposite reaction. So those are the type of things that we must do. And of course, when you've attracted attention, make sure that you land a sale. Make it easy for someone to buy what you are selling. Once it becomes an effort to go and buy what you're selling, you remember our attention is very short. So once it's hard to get to your product, I lose interest. That's why it's very easy to walk into a shop. When I see it, I buy it. If yours needs a lot of work to be done, it becomes difficult. So I think people who are starting businesses, please make it a point that your distribution, your ease of access, it's very, very important in lending a sale. And of course, the other thing that I said is that please deliver what you promise. And you can only deliver what you promise when you build systems so that your business does not always depend on one person the whole time. Because you're gonna get sick, you're gonna be tired. Make sure that there are systems, make sure that you are competent in what you do. And therefore, word of mouth. You can get more customers because people believe in what you do. And lastly, make sure that you focus on the finance side of the business. The idea of saying I run a business, but I haven't done my numbers, I haven't done my taxes, I haven't done my books. Please, guys, you rather go and get a cheap bookkeeper or something. Please do something about your numbers. Otherwise, it kills your business. So those are the type of things that we can look at. So the gentleman in construction, Go and find something that has these 5 things and go and do it. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll find it yourself. Otherwise, we can consult on another day. All right.
The gentleman in construction, I'm going to send you an invoice after this. Go for it, Colette.
And then there was a question around good debt. Is there such thing as good debt? I'm going to get out of this screen. Is there such thing as good debt? I might share something, so leave the ability to share for now. Is there such thing as good debt? Okay, so let me put it this way. There is such thing as profitable debt. I'm not going to call it good. I'll call it profitable. And I say it's profitable. It's the debt that gets you something that makes money. And that's something that debt gets you. I don't know if that's still English, but that's something that debt gets you. What it does, it generates more money, and it generates enough money to pay the debt and pay you. That is profitable debt. So let me give you an example. Let's say I go and take out debt to grow my business. And remember, if I take out debt to grow my business and the growth that comes from that debt. So for example, I go and expand and open new branches, and those branches, they become profitable. They generate enough cash to make the debt repayment and still pay all the other expenses and even pay me a dividend. That debt has become profitable. All other debt is either neutral or consumption. Neutral debt, for example, is the debt that has the ability to help me generate income, but it's not guaranteed. So for example, if I take out a loan to go and study, I call that neutral debt because it's a gamble. What if what I've studied, there are no jobs, right? But it has the potential to generate income. And therefore, I then also say that the debt that I take out for buying a home, like a bond, I don't call that good debt. I also don't call it consumption debt. I normally call it neutral debt. It has an ability to generate income. But I think sometimes we must be honest that sometimes our homes, we just need a place to stay. Sometimes we must stop calling it an investment. Just call it a house. It's okay. Not everything has to be an investment. It's a house. I need a place to live, and leave it at that. Don't try to justify it by, because a house becomes an investment when you buy it. In other words, your decision, when I'm going to buy a house, what determines whether it's going to be investment or not is what happens at the buying stage, not afterwards. Because let's think about a house. A house takes money from me. Investments make me money. What determines whether the house will make money for me or not is at the start. It's my choice of the environment. So for example, the neighborhood I'm buying at, the potential of that neighborhood. I go and see. For example, if I'm going to buy a house in Baklu, I look around and say, what's next to Baklu? Or I then see there are developments in Waterfall where there's going to be companies, there's going to be malls, there's going to be hospitals. The value potential. Before I buy the house, that's when it becomes an investment, not afterwards. I don't go and baptize it afterwards. It must become an investment at the start. Then yes, it has a growth potential. Remember, the house you live in costs you money until you sell it. And there's no guarantee that when I sell my house, it's going to make money. It depends on many things. It depends on as I said, the potential of the place, but also whether the neighborhood, are people taking care of those places. I mean, there are some places that are becoming overcrowded. There's too much traffic. Nobody wants to live in a place that has too much traffic if they can afford not to live in that place. So things like that. So all I'm saying is that let's stop romanticizing buying a house. It's a house, perfect. It's a house. If you want it to be an investment, make some decisions at the start. Otherwise, it's just a house. It's okay to have a house. Now, the question is whether doing a bond and renting, which one makes more money, which one doesn't make more money. It really depends on a lot of things. It depends on a number of calculations. Maybe I'll work it out maybe tonight and I'll post it as a calculation just to show you the different examples. There's no right answer all the time. Sometimes it makes sense to get into a bond. Sometimes it makes sense to rent and then go and find money elsewhere. So I will leave that. But the point, and then I will leave it at that for now. But renting gives you flexibility. and it gives you enough time to assess where you can buy a house and it becomes an investment, and spend the time doing your homework about the growth potential of that. But let's be honest. Let me just show you something very quick. I'm just going to show you something about a house so that you can get the idea very quickly, and then we'll end there around the house. Let me just quickly see if I've got it here. Okay, I do have it. So I'm going to share it very quickly, and then I'm just going to show you what a house really does, and then you can make a decision on your own about that. But all I'm saying is that let's be honest. Let's be honest about what the house is. It is shelter. You need shelter, whether you're renting it or it is bond. You need shelter. So it's okay. It's okay. Don't romanticize it all the time. But if you want it to be investment, your decisions are the one that make it investment. So let's look at a simple bond, a simple house that costs 500,000 rands, and then I'm going to enter into a 20-year bond. And at an interest of 10%, it means my monthly repayments are 5,000 rands a month. And sometimes we forget the other costs that are involved. What determines whether this house is an investment or not? Remember, this is the house I live in, which means that the only time it will make me money is when I actually sell it, or when I leverage it to buy another business. In other words, I use it as security for a business. Any other time, I'm spending on it. And remember, you build wealth by making money, not spending money. But anyway, after 20 years on a house that cost me 500,000, I would have spent more than 4 times. I would have spent 2.1 million rands. Because remember, I'm paying 5,000 rands every month for 240 months. That's 1.2 million rands that I've spent on a 500,000 house over 20 years. And then I'm spending on levies or rates. That's 220,000 rands over a 20-year period. I'm spending on electricity. That's 441,000. I'm spending on water and all that. So I've spent over 2 million rands. So for this house to have been an investment, if you want to think about your house romantically, for it to have been an investment, when I sell it, I must at least sell it for 2.1 million rands, because I build wealth when what I get is more than what I've spent. Right? If I sell it for 1.2 million, I actually have not really built. And of course, you'll say I would have spent levies and electricity. Yes, we can argue that. But guess what? Who can control what happens 20 years from now? Nobody. That's why I'm then saying that you can make it an investment by the decisions you make on where to buy the house, when to buy it, and how to structure that house. Those decisions can then give it more value in the long term. And that's really what I wanted to show you. Let me see if there's anything that I can show you. Oh, the other thing that I want to show you, it's a very exciting thing. It's a by the way. If you were to increase your repayments on a house by 10% each year. So for example, in year 1, I'm paying 5,000 rands a month on the bond. In year 2, I'm increasing it by 10%, so I'm paying 5,500. In year 3 and so forth, you'll be done with your bond in 9 years instead of 20 years. Now, if you are done in 9 years, you now have an asset that is worth something without any debt, and you've saved about 340,000. I know people who are Adventists, they think 7 is a complete number, so let's play around. If you were to increase your bond repayments by 20%, in other words, in year 1, I'm spending 5,000 per month on my bond. In year 2, I increase it by 20%, which is 1,000 rands, it's 6,000. In year 3, I increase it by 1,200, which is 20%, and so forth. I'll be done in 7 years. And those who read the Bible will say, hi, it's complete. 7 is, okay, fine, that's it. It was just a by the way, you will save some interest. So in 7 years, you'll be debt-free. The point I'm making here is that I understand that some of us will have to start with debt. But the point is, not all of us must stay in debt for longer than it is necessary. And then that's the bond side. And then the other one was about crowdfunding and all of that. You know, one thing I admire, and I'm going to stop sharing now. One thing I admire about pyramid schemes. I know that we have a negative thing about pyramid schemes, but there's one thing I admire about pyramid schemes is that they are able to get people together. And when you get people together, you have buying power. When you have people together. That's why you see some of those schemes like My Way, you know, the ones that have an underlying product. Because of buying power, they are able to negotiate lower prices. If you were to think of some of the schemes that we don't call pyramid schemes, but they are schemes of crowdfunding. If you were to think of Vitality, or you think of accumulating customers and putting them together as a group and going as a group and negotiating better prices, those are some of the things that crowding can do. Now, crowdfunding is basically, instead of going to raise money for a business, instead of going to raise it from a bank and all the stuff, I actually get people together and they put in very small amounts of money as a crowd, as I say, it's crowdfunding, and then they own a share of that thing. Sometimes crowdfunding happens when I'm starting a business, which means the risk is very high, because if the business doesn't take off, you lose your money, which is okay. You lose your money for that. But sometimes crowdfunding can be used when we've got a business idea that meets all those 5 criteria. It can be property, not just any property in a place where there's demand. We know that there's going to be tenants or there's going to be buyers for that development. We've assessed the area and saw that there's a potential. We've looked at the plans on all the vacant land, and we realized that a mall has been approved, a hospital has been approved, which means there's going to be a lot of people wanting to stay closer to work, and therefore we are building this property through crowdfunding, and this property is going to be taking the level, the certain level of income earners who are going to be our customers, who are going to be people who are working there who need accommodation. You need to do all that research. You can't just rely on, I do 200 buffet, we'll do something great. What is that? You can't just bring a crowd and give it nothing to do. And that something must go through the same criteria as what we do with the business plan. And it must actually pass the thing of a business plan. So crowdfunding is very good because you are able to use the power of crowd. On my own, I would have to raise R1 million. But if I have a crowd of people who are putting money every month, suddenly that R1 million is easier to put together. But that R1 million, what it is accumulated, it is meaningless if there's no underlying business or something under it. And that underlying business must pass the scrutiny of a business plan. And I always suggest that if you're going to do crowdfunding, that business plan must not be scrutinized by the 100 of you, because probably the 100 of you are very optimistic. You think very highly of your ideas. Take it to somebody who is in IDC, who's going to be brutal and rip it apart. Take it to that person who's going to ask questions as if they are putting in the money of shareholders. And if it has passed those questions, and it must go through those 5 things that I spoke about. Remember those 5 things I said, is there a value proposition here? Are we creating something that is needed? Is there a market for this thing? Number 2, are we able to attract attention? And really, is there a market that can be attentive to what we have? How are we going to attract attention? There must be a marketing strategy. Hope is not a strategy. You can't just do a good thing, say hope people will notice. It doesn't work like that. How are we going to make sure people notice it? Number 3, how are we going to turn that attention to a sale? What is our strategy for selling? What is our strategy for making sure that the sale is seamless? Very important. Number 4, how are we going to make sure that we're going to deliver what we promised that we're going to deliver? That's why they ask, what skills are there? What experience is there? How strong is this product? Is there a prototype that you've tested and you can show us? You know, it's so nice when you go and present your business idea. You are not carrying papers. You're actually carrying a prototype. I want to get into the farming market. Here is the produce from my back garden. Here, what I've done. These are the things I'm going to do, but I want to do them in big scale. You've just shown that I can deliver the promise. And then number 5, the numbers must make sense. Let's do the numbers. Let's do financial projection. And what I always do when someone brings a business plan, they've got financial projections. I divide it by 3 because usually they've exaggerated everything. Does it still make sense? What is your break-even point? For example, and break-even is how many things must we sell for us to cover all our costs? Now, if your break-even point says that you must sell 1 million units, I have a problem. Because how many businesses have 1 million customers? You know, again, if you've proven the 5 things before, the 4 things before, and they are very strong, just maybe you are that business that can have 1 million customers. But if you remember the guy who started Facebook, he first did a prototype in the campus where he lived in. And then when he had a prototype and he could show that, hey, look at this thing, it gained traction, then he could go and upscale. Our problem is that we always want to start big. And that's not always the best idea. But crowdfunding is very, very great because it's an easier way than doing it on your own. But there must be an underlying asset, an underlying business that passes these 5 things. Then yes, it's great.